Hi, I'm Kim Coco. Today's yin yoga class is going to be on balancing the energy centers of the body. There are times in life where things get a little crazy, and sometimes things get out of balance internally, whether we're feeling fear or stress or anxiety or a disconnection from that bigger, best part of ourselves. And so today I'd like to go through every energy center, bolstering the best aspects of those energy centers so that you can feel more clear, purposeful, and energized as you move throughout your day. I am wearing a down vest this morning because I have a cold chill that I just can't shake. So make sure that you're warm and you're cozy as you move throughout this practice, maybe even socks, a nice sweatshirt. You might notice that as you progress in the practice, you get a little cooler. So just honor yourself, bundle up as you need to, as we will be holding these poses for long periods of time. That being said, try to go to that 50 to 70% range for you so that as we work into the fascia around the muscles and into the joints and some of those deeper areas, you're not creating more stress or tension where the body resists. Find a place that you can get some ease, give yourself permission to back off, and then just enjoy your breath as you move through this practice. To start today, I'd like you to begin in child's pose. So by that, I mean you have any variation of options of child's pose. You might take the knees wide, you might bring them close together. You might even want to take a bolster or a blanket or a pillow or something and place it underneath your torso for some support. Otherwise, we'll just start to lengthen the spine out, support your head and neck as you need to, letting your head rest on something, whether that's the floor, a blanket. Hands can reach out in front of you, and maybe you actually take the fingers and walk them out to lengthen the spine. Maybe let them drop down by your feet. But otherwise, take a few moments and settle in there. See if you can feel the weight drop down into your shins, the tops of your feet, and all 10 toes. Pressing down towards the floor, just lightly engaging that connection at your foundation. Notice the weight of your head as it starts to get heavier, making contact with whatever surface is beneath it, noticing that texture and temperature there. And notice the breath as it moves in and out of the rib cage, and out of the lungs, pressing the ribs out to the sides, down towards the floor and up towards the ceiling every time you breathe in. Just aware of the length of your breath out, without trying to change anything right away, just taking an inventory of the sensations you're experiencing. Aware of the thought patterns of the mind, maybe how you emotionally feel in this moment. Begin here by appreciating those areas of your life in which you feel a sense of balance already. Could be in a relationship, could be in an aspect of your career, something in your home life. It could just even be the space you live in that feels balanced. Bring to your mind's eye a few things vividly that reflect a sense of balance already present in your life. And then we'll seal in that subtle memory of balance with your inhale filling up. Take a light pause at the top, but let the body get heavier. And then exhale the breath back out through the nose or the mouth. So 2 more times, just like that. Fill up the breath deeply. Pause and savor the breath at the top. exhale it back out. Third time, filling up. Pause. Exhale, release. Notice if you can find a length of breath in that matches the length of your breath back out. As we hold with these more still postures, giving the breath a chance to even off, the mind a chance to connect with what is presently, but also move into that space of possibility, that you actually shift your vibration, you shift your perspective, you shift your internal sense of balance, so it becomes a pattern that you memorize and access more easily and more regularly. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your knees. Go ahead and roll over to one side so you can bring your legs out in front of you. And we're going to start with square pose, also known as Sukhasana. You might actually want to take a blanket behind you to sit on to help give you some support. And if you are going to sit on a blanket, I recommend you scoot to the very front edge of that blanket so the flesh can move out away from the sitting bones and your pelvis can tilt more forward. Doesn't matter which shin you take on top first, but see if you can lightly flex the feet, move the feet so they're more directly underneath the knees. So we have a nice external rotation of the legs. You might actually take your hands even to your thighs and feel the flesh turn out towards the sides of your mat. And this is where you might want a prop to lean up on, whether it's a bolster, a block for your head. Start by taking a deep breath in and sit taller with your inhale. And actually take the shoulders and roll them down and back a few times. And then feel the length between the ears and the shoulders as the shoulder blades drop down the back. And you might choose to stay here and simply tuck the chin and let the head and neck rest if that feels good. Or you might slowly start to walk your hands out. Again, finding something that's 50% or so. And if you have your hands out in front of you, maybe you can feel the upper arm bones rest more comfortably and solidly into the shoulder joints. You can actually rest your torso a bit here. And we'll take these first few moments to anatomically set up. So see if you can inhale and feel the spine lift and lengthen out of your pelvis. Feel the front of your torso as long as the back. But then feel the heart melt. Shoulder blades draw lightly together towards the spine as well as down the back. And then maybe let the head and neck rest. Notice how there's still a light activation at the feet. Notice the weight of the sitting bones. See if you can feel them a little more even, pressing down into your blanket or the mat. And then go back to the focus on your breath, where the inhale matches the exhale, whether you're engaging the Ujjayi pranayama or not. Can you soften in? So we start with some of these poses. Notice that this is working more around the base, the root chakra. And this is really dealing with the sense of being grounded. And this is that spiritual nature taking human form. So where we interact with ourselves in the physical body, where we interact with the community around us, whether that's as our family, our community as a larger picture. But it's also being aware of where you feel in charge of your own life, knowing that you have the ability to direct your own course here in this human experience. So you might choose to simply focus on your breathing. You might choose to acknowledge the belief that you're in charge of your own life, that you're grounded, safe, and secure. Finding a point in which the mind can stay connected in this moment. Notice as you're about halfway through, where can you let go? Maybe it's backing off a little. Maybe it's easing in a little deeper. Maybe it's simply letting the head and neck rest by dropping down, letting the head get heavier, closing the eyes, or softening your gaze down the bridge of your nose. And then as you take your last minute here, soften in, breathe deeply. And then on your next inhale, slowly start to walk your hands back up towards your hips if they're not already there. Maybe stretch the legs out in front of you. Before you switch which shin is in front. Walk your feet out so that feet are roughly underneath the knees. And that might mean walking the shins out away from the pelvis so that you really do have a nice square shape, shins parallel to the front of your mat. Feel the flesh move out away from the sitting bones. Feel your thighs externally rotate. Take a moment to sit tall. Maybe roll the shoulders down and back a few times to reconnect with the length up the spine, shoulder blades down the back, collarbones open. And then stay here and let the head and neck rest. Or use your inhale and slowly start to walk your hands out. Again, just finding that nice 50% to 60, 70% maybe capacity of what you can experience in this pose, so that you have room to move, room to go deeper if need be, or at least the capability of staying in your pose for the length of time we're going to be here. If you are moving forward with your torso, maybe come onto your fingertips. Use your inhale to lengthen the spine. Feel the belly button draw away from the pelvis and the low back lengthen. But feel the heart melt forward, shoulder blades towards the spine, down away from the ears. And then maybe let the hands rest down so that the upper arm bones can hug firmly into the shoulder socket, giving you some leverage with the arms to help hold the torso up without additional strain of the upper body. Letting the head and neck rest. So again, reconnecting with that sense of groundedness just by the base of this posture, your feet, gravity pulling your knees down towards the ground, your sitting bones level, feeling a heaviness there at your seat. Staying connected with that idea that you are grounded, safe, and secure. You are in charge of your own energy and managing that energy to move forward. Stay connected to your breath, or maybe even start to envision the color red as you close your eyes or soften your gaze. And still turn up the volume of your breath. And notice how you are able to stay focused or not stay focused at the beginning of your practice based on the activity of your mind. And how can you bring your focus back to the present moment as you find some stillness with the body? As you notice the difference right to left here, simply be okay with what you observe. Without having to push or force or make any changes, just be okay with it. Breathing all the way down to the base of your spine, breathing in the color red. Breathing in with your sense of groundedness as you hold here for your last minute. Take another deep breath in here. And then stay for the exhale. Use the following breath in to walk your hands back up towards your hips. Uncross the legs, take the feet mat distance apart, lean back on your hands, and then go ahead and just slowly start to windshield wiper the knees, rocking from the inner to the outer edges of the feet, massaging out the hips a little bit after being stationary. And then from here, if you're facing the front of your mat, we're going to turn to face that left side of your mat. And we're going to take the right shin parallel to the long edge of your mat and your left shin parallel to the back edge of your mat for deer pose, which is a really nice counter pose for that external rotation we just did of the legs. And we're going to take this into a twist as we start to look at the second chakra, space just below the navel. So you might want to bolster or pillows in front of you. Find your props as you need to. What we're going to do is we're going to take that bolster parallel to the long edge of your mat, tuck that right hip under, and then slowly begin to lengthen your spine with one hand on each side of the bolster. Lengthen the spine up and out, supporting your torso with the bolster as you need to. Letting your forearms rest on the floor, turning your head to the right side of your cheek, rest on the bolster or the floor, or the left side. And then as you're here, take a moment to lengthen the spine. Feel the connection of your right hip to the floor. Feel where the right shin and ankle and thigh are in connection with your mat. And then notice where the left foot, left shin, and left knee are in connection with your mat. And then even though it might be a little more challenging here, just by the very nature of this twist, can you breathe down just below your navel? Can you inflate the space around the second chakra, which is associated with your unique expression of yourself, your ability to be creative, your ability to recognize the harmony and synchronicity in your life. So as you allow the shoulder blades to spread apart, the upper arm bones to rest heavier towards the floor, and your forearms to rest on the ground, can you let your head get heavier? And can you find some clarity in the breath as you uniquely express yourself in this posture, in this moment? Aware of the thoughts that arise, the sensations that arise. And even the feelings that arise with the thoughts. Where can you soften here, even if it's in relaxing your fingers, your throat? Take another deep breath in here. And complete your breath back out. Use your following breath in to slowly walk yourself back up. Just go ahead and turn the back of your mat, and we're literally going to go right to the second side. So this time the right shin will point towards the back edge of the mat, lightly flex the right foot. Left shin will face the long edge of the right side of your mat. The left hip will now be closer to the bolster, and you can take one hand to each side of the bolster and literally lift and tuck that left hip under. And then from here, lengthen your spine out. Notice the twist originating at the belly button, even though the lumbar spine doesn't have a lot of necessarily rotational capability. That's enough to help us twist. But we start to really work more in the thoracic spine, especially for the back bends. But let's see how we do here in the twists. Feel your heart start to rest heavy on your bolster. Let the head and neck get heavy. And tune back into that spot just below the belly button. That space of your unique self-expression, your creativity. And then maybe bring to mind areas of your life in which that is already taking place. You're excited about your unique expression, even what other people notice about your unique self-expression and how it gets reflected back to you in a very positive way. Or maybe it's just simply breathing down and envisioning the color orange as you send the breath down just below the belly button. Feeling the spine start to rotate and twist there. And then see how quickly you can settle in with the body, feeling the body get heavier with every exhale. Softening where you can as you focus on the breath, on your creativity, on the color orange. If your mind wanders, return your attention back to your breath first. about 3 more slow rounds of breath on this side. And then use that 4th inhale to slowly walk your torso back upright. And then go ahead and come onto your hands and knees, moving your props aside if you have them by you. And we'll just take a few rounds of cat-cow here to neutralize the spine. You might rest in child's pose if less movement feels good to you. But otherwise, spread the fingers wide. Take a few rounds to start at the base of the spine and take a gentle back bend before you tuck and round and press into more of a forward bend, a rounded spine. We'll just take a few rounds. And then when you're ready, go ahead and press back to child's pose. Pause for a second there. Recreate the length in your torso as you walk your hands out away from your torso. And then slowly come back to sit on your heels. We're going to swing the legs back out in front of you. We're going to take half shoelace with some variations to move up to the 3rd chakra. So again, you might want to sit on your blanket as you come to Dandasana first. Moving the legs out in front of you, flush away from the sitting bones, tilting the pelvis forward again. If your hamstring's tight, you can always place a blanket underneath your knees. We'll start with the right leg first, so we're actually going to hug that right knee in towards your chest, and then you can cross the right foot over the left and place the sole of the foot on the ground, or maybe you can drop the right knee closer to the left knee and bring the right foot closer to the left hip. Playing a little bit of twister here, so a half shoelace position. If Gomukhasana or a full shoelace option sounds good to you, you might want to take that as well. But otherwise, feel both sitting bones starting to press down towards the floor. Lengthen up away from the pelvis, lifting the rib cage further away from the hips. Go ahead and take your right hand out by the right side of your body. Reach that left arm up, turn the palm towards the right side of the room and drop the left shoulder down. And then go ahead and walk your left hand up and over to the right. And then make sure that right arm is stable so that upper arm bone hugs into the socket. Or even drop your right ear towards the right shoulder. And then start to glue the left sitting bone down towards the floor. And then draw the rib cage in so that you can feel you're in a nice straight line with the torso as you laterally bend over to your right. Just notice as this is a more slightly active yin pose. Can you find a sense of ease? Can you feel the space being created at the left side of the body, around the left side ribs, and even lengthening the whole right side of the body as well, even though you're leaning to the right? Can you begin to focus on extending your breath? Maybe turn the ribs and the heart more towards the front of the room or the front of your mat. Enjoying your last 3 rounds of breath here. Use your next inhale to come back up to a nice tall spine. Take the left hand over to the right knee or left elbow to the right knee. Reach that right arm up on your inhale to re-lengthen the whole right side of the body, and then take the right fingertips back behind you. Sit up tall, and then you can take the left hand again to the left, or left hand, right knee, left arm outside of right knee. We're going to take 2 minutes here in this twisted version. So notice if you can still feel the pelvis rocking forward, the spine getting taller. And notice as we're moving this time around that third chakra, the space just above the navel, where you're associated with that feeling of being content and blessed with who you are in this moment, knowing that you're perfectly where you need to be. And physically tapping into that center of who we are as we start to rotate the belly button towards the right before the ribs start to turn to the right. Using the contact with that left arm or left elbow, left hand to the right knee to help turn the thoracic spine to the right. And then allow the right shoulder blade to come more onto the back so that the collarbones can open to the right. And then as you gaze over the right shoulder, maybe look more purposefully through your left eye. And as you breathe here for the next minute, can you soften in anywhere? Even with a constricted breath, can you maybe find a little more expansion? Take another inhale here. Stay for the exhale. Use your in-breath to unwind, coming to face the front of your mat, hands by your hips again, or behind you, slightly to lift and lengthen the spine. And then you can stay here and just allow the head and neck to relax if you already feel enough of a stretch. Or you can take your hands out in front of you. Again, lengthening the low back, lifting the heart, shoulder blades away from the ears. And then maybe you start to walk a little more forward. Again, finding that place of 50 to 70% where you can rest. We're going to be here for 3 minutes in our folded half shoelace, or if you're taking the full version. Can you let the head and neck drop? Can you breathe all the way down to your navel, maybe envisioning the color yellow associated with your solar plexus? Maybe affirming how you're using your own sense of empowerment in a positive way. Appreciating where you already feel content in your life, where you feel content in who you are. On your next inhale, go ahead and walk your hands back up towards your hips. Plant both soles of the feet on the floor, hip distance apart. Walk your hands behind you about 8 inches. Squeeze the elbows in and lift the heart. And you can just sit upright and sit tall here. Or if you want to take an inverted table, slowly start to press your knees towards the front of your mat. Side view. Staying right here, broaden the collarbones, or lifting and lengthening through the whole front side of the body, opening the shoulders, softening the glutes if you're away from the floor. Feeling the heels draw back in space towards your hips as you soften around the sacrum. And then on your next exhale, bring your hips back to the floor if they have left the ground. And then re-extend your legs for Dandasana, starting your second round here. Second side. Starting by sitting tall, broadening the collarbones. Taking the left knee in towards your chest, crossing the left foot over your right leg, or bringing that left knee directly over the right, allowing the right hip to be next or closer to that left foot. So start, here by lengthening your spine up, feeling the rib cage point towards the front of your mat so you're in a nice lateral bend here as opposed to moving forwards or moving backwards in space. Left hand comes out to the left side of the body, right arm reaches up, right hand towards the left side of the room, soften the right shoulder blade down the back, and start to exhale and reach up and over to your left. So start with a little bit of adjustment, feel that left hand planted firmly on the floor. You can also use a block and bring the floor up to you if you need to. Feel the space between the right shoulder and the right ear as you allow the left ear to drop toward the left shoulder. Press the right hip more firmly down into the ground, and then notice where you can lengthen and create space in the whole right side body. Notice even though you're leaning to the left, can you still feel the space in the left side of the body? And can you once again expand the rhythm of your breath? And then just breathe here for your next minute. Soften your jaw and your throat and your gaze. Take another inhale here, and then stay for the out breath. Use your inhale to come back up through center. Slowly take the right hand to the left knee or right elbow, left knee. Inhale, reach that left arm up this time. Circle the left arm back and behind you and support your left hand with the block or the floor, and maybe stay on the fingertips. Right hand, right knee, right elbow, left knee, right outer arm, left knee. And then start by sitting tall. Start by relaxing the jaw, sending the breath down to the solar plexus, and then using that space just above your navel to turn and twist the torso to the left. Feel the ribs start to twist and turn to the left. Feel the contact between your right arm or hand and your left leg. Feel the left shoulder blade come more onto your back as you turn the collarbones and chest and head to the left. Looking more purposefully, finding a point that you can gaze at with your right eye as you feel your grounded connection with your sitting bones, a lightness of your spine, and an expansion around the midsection with your breath. Next inhale here. Exhale fully. And then use that following breath in to come back to center, hands by your hips, lengthen the torso up. As you exhale, maybe walk your hands more forward. Breathing here as you fold, noticing a difference again right to left. Being okay with what is. Using that observation to clarify your desires, your preferences. Breathing down into the space above the navel, a space that knows and acknowledges that you are able to accomplish anything you choose. So breathe into that space. Breathe in the color yellow. Breathe into your sense of accomplishment. Even if that means acknowledging your time here on this mat right now, where you're nurturing yourself on multiple levels. About 3 more nice slow rounds of breath. And then finish that next out breath, inhaling your way back up. Shake out the legs. Again, place the soles of the feet out in front of you. Feet hip distance apart, hands behind you. Squeeze the elbows back and together. Lift the heart and stay here. Or take a few rounds of breath in your inverted tabletop. Re-lengthening the whole front side of the body as we move from the solar plexus up to the heart. But notice where you can create a little more length across the front line of the body, the collarbones, the neck. You've been in an inverted table, slowly drop your hips back to the floor. And we're all going to meet on our belly for sphinx pose. So as we work into the heart center, we'll start with a gentle back bend here. Bring the underneath the shoulders and the forearms parallel. Feel all 10 toes press down into the mat so that you can actually lift the kneecaps off of the floor for a moment. Lift the right foot away from the floor, extend and lengthen the right leg back, and then reset the foot on the floor. Lift the left leg off the ground, reach it back in space, and then drop it to the floor. So feet remain about hip distance apart. And then start with your hands. Feel the fingers pressing down to the floor. And then just like you would for a down dog, feel the inner thumb and inner forefinger roll to the ground. press the floor away with your forearms, hug the forearms together lightly, and then broaden the collarbones, which means melting the heart some. So we're going to be here for 3 minutes or so. We'll do a couple poses to work with the heart center, as it really is that bridge between our spiritual nature and our human essence. So play with that movement of actions, even though they might not appear as movements in the body. Feel the pelvis heavy, feel the hands press into the floor, the forearms press into the floor, and then the heart melt and the collarbones broaden. And then you can let the head and neck drop if that feels comfortable to you, gazing down the nose. You might keep your head a little more upright. Maybe even close your eyes and start to picture the color green as you breathe around the area of the heart. You got a fairly easy pose, but not necessarily simple. Or rather, a simple pose, but not necessarily easy. Still requiring some focused attention to open the heart, melt the shoulder blades down the back, and still press the floor away. Can you feel the tips of your shoulder blades drawing more towards the spine or towards the floor so that the heart can lift and point more towards the front of your mat? And take about 3 more rounds of breath here. Again, floor presses away, collarbones broad, head and neck and jaw soft, heart wide open. And then we're going to take crocodile for our counter pose. So keep your forearms on the floor, but clasp your hands together. Tuck the toes under and activate the legs so the kneecaps again come off the floor. Make sure the elbows are under the shoulders, and then draw in with your core and slowly press up to forearm plank, also known as crocodile, tucking the tailbone towards the back of your mat, lengthening out through the crown of your head, again broadening the collarbone. You have 2 collarbones, 1 head. Reach back through the inner heels. If this is out of the question, just take child's pose, but soften your glutes, engage the core, and then drop the knees and press back to child's pose if you're not already there. Letting the head, neck, and jaw soften once again, breathing deeply into the space, the low back. And then as you inhale, come back to hands and knees. So it's our nice all fours position. hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And then we're going to take Anahatasana, also known as puppy pose. So as you're here, walk a bit further back on my mat so I have space to walk forward. You might want to have your block handy or something handy to prop your head up on if your head will not reach the floor. Start by tucking the tailbone slightly so the belly button draws towards the spine, so you're engaged there, not sagging and compressing into the low back. Walk your hands forward about shoulder distance apart, maybe even just slightly wider. And then start to melt the back of the heart towards the floor, letting your forehead rest on your mat. Maybe even come onto your fingertips here, and then drag the shoulder blades down the back as the shoulder blades melt towards the heart. And then breathe deeply here. Feeling the hips still over the knees. So this pose actually works as we're working in the area of the heart, this area where we love ourselves and we appreciate others. This area that we love ourselves unconditionally, but also knowing that we are able to forgive ourselves and others for any wrongdoings we feel may have been done against us. Knowing that we're always doing the best from our state of consciousness in any given moment, and so is everybody else. So allowing the forgiveness and softness around the heart to eliminate anger and resentment or frustration. Kind of about another minute here. So breathe a love, appreciation, forgiveness, acceptance in the heart space. Maybe it's the color green. Maybe it's just melting the heart towards your mat. Slowly begin to walk your hands back in space, hips draw towards the heels, child's pose once again. Connect with the rhythm of your breath and the space in the heart. On your next inhale, walk your hands back towards your knees. Come to sit back on your heels for a moment. Swing your legs out in front of you and go ahead and come onto your back. We're going to take one little shoulder opener to open the higher space around the heart and the front of the shoulders, which can get to be a very tight area. Start by rolling onto your left side. Take the right arm up in space. Internally rotate the arm so the thumb points towards the back of the room, and then actually take your right hand behind you. And you can start by taking the hand low on the low back. You can maybe, if you're more flexible, start to walk the hand up higher as if you were going to take half Gomukhasana arms. But again, start easy. What we're going to do is we're going to take that hand as it internally rotated behind you and then come to recline on your back again. If you get there and you notice a screaming pain right away in the front of your shoulder, by all means, back off, roll onto your left side again, lower your right hand down your back, and then roll onto your back once again. And if it's too easy, you might roll it to your side, walk your hand up your back. Maybe bend the knees if that feels good. You can take the left arm out to the side and cactus arms. You might actually take more of a Gomukhasana shape and bend the left elbow, placing the left forearm behind the head, creating a little pillow there. We're going to be here for about 2 minutes. So just notice how the breath moves across the collarbones, across the shoulders. Maybe let the knees knock together so you don't have to work in the low body at all. The hips can melt down. The breath can be even. Just begin to notice the space above the heart. The area that is often tied to our self-worth. And can you acknowledge that you are worthy just by being you, being where you're at, being here in this human experience? Take another deep inhale and stay for the exhale. Slowly unwind, roll back onto your left side so you can unwind your right arm. Come to lie on your back for a moment, just pausing, noticing the difference right to left. And then from here, rolling onto your right side, taking the left arm up towards the ceiling, internally rotating the palm, taking the arms, or internally, you're actually rotating the whole arm. Take the palm back behind you at the sacrum, low back, middle back, towards the upper back. Recline onto your back. Take whatever leg position, knees bent, knees knocking together is a nice option here. Right arm either out to the side at cactus arms, just by your side, or bending the elbow above your head so that the right forearm can create a pillow for your head. Notice how as you breathe here, you can breathe into the back of the heart. Can you notice your green color turning towards a blue as we work up just below the collarbones, connecting with your sense of worthiness, your innate sense of worthiness, and letting the head get heavier as you acknowledge that and rest in that fact. Knowing that I am worthy of the best that love and life have to offer. And take another deep breath in. At the end of your next exhale, slowly roll back onto your right side. Unwind your left arm. Pause with your hands beside you, legs extended toward Shavasana, a nice symmetrical position to observe the changes right to left in the shoulders. And then when you're ready, drawing your knees in towards the chest, rock a little side to side, massage out the knees, the hips, the low back, ankles, a few circles if need be. And then go ahead and roll yourself over to one side. Grab your block if you need it. You're actually going to have two options here. So you can take supported bridge pose, in which case you'll want your block. You might want to take halasana, plow pose, or in yin it's called snail. So if you're going to want to take snail pose, I would recommend, if you have a blanket or a towel, you create two long rectangles, and then you stack the folded side together so you have a nice long line. So I'll demonstrate both poses, and then you can decide what to do. And then if you're repeating this practice, you can obviously skip through the demo and get right into the pose. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate bridge first, because that is the easier option. Again, we're going to work into the throat. So we're going to close off the throat here slightly with bridge pose. So first option is to grab your block, recline on your back, take your feet hip distance apart, press the feet into the floor, lift the hips away from the floor, and start to place the block either on the lowest level or the middle level. If you're extremely flexible, maybe the highest level. And place the block so it's across the rim of your pelvis and perpendicular to your spine. And then from here you can let the pelvis rest on the floor, or on your block, feet on the floor, arms on the floor. Roll the shoulder blades toward the spine and lift the chin just slightly, so we're breathing past this slightly constricted area of the throat. Option 1. Option 2 would be your snail pose. And in this case, we're going to take the blankets. So I have that nice, neat, folded edge of my stacked blankets. And in this case, I'm just going to do it towards the back of my mat. I'm going to come to recline on my blanket so that my shoulders are about 3 to 4 inches still on the blanket, and my head is just off the blanket. Roll the shoulder blades back and in towards the spine. Press the floor away. Start to straighten the legs and lift the hips over the shoulders. And again, from here, you can use the hands to walk in towards one another, maybe take a clasp, and hang out in snail pose. Rolling the shoulder blades down the back, coming onto the shoulders, the tops of the shoulders, so that your neck can lengthen here and the legs can extend. So whatever you choose, we're going to be here for about 3 minutes. Bridge or snail. Start to breathe past your throat and become aware of the softness of the tongue in your mouth. The constriction around your neck, if you feel any, and can you soften that? And as you notice the breath moving down past your throat to the lungs, can you be aware of the color blue? Can you be aware of where you speak your truth in life? Courageously, confidently, effortlessly. Can you appreciate the ability to speak your truth, to vocalize your intentions, and to ask for what you want and need in life? And then how can you settle in for these last few rounds of breath? If you're in bridge, stay there for another few rounds of breath. If you're in snail, slowly start to unwind the shoulders. Allow your hands and your arms to press into the floor and slowly roll your way onto your back with your legs extended. Maybe take the elbows by the side of the body, forearms by the side of the body, and take a moment to press into the floor to lift the chest into Matsyasana, fish pose, to open the throat again as you feel the crown of the head lightly touch the floor. Maybe even have the forearms off the ground if that feels easier. And then press the floor away, lift the head off the floor, tuck the chin and recline onto your back. If you're in bridge pose, slowly press the floor away with your feet. Lift your hips off of the block, unwind your shoulders, and then roll down one vertebra at a time, pausing in a neutral spine with your knees bent or extending your legs to Shavasana. Noticing the effects of a slight inversion. Notice the space around the throat. And then when you're ready, hug your knees in towards your chest again. Roll over to one side. Make your way up to a seat and get to a wall space. I would like us to take Viparita Karani for the last pose here to help get upside down, moving into the more intuitive third eye space and the crown chakra. So if you would like to take a bolster underneath your hips or even just a blanket, take it take it parallel, long ways against the wall. Having problems with my speech today. All right, so we are going to go ahead and place, if you're going to take legs up the wall, sit on your blanket or bolster. Go ahead and roll over to one side. Make sure your hips feel supported underneath you, whether that is on a blanket or on a bolster. Adjust yourself as needed. You can take the arms out to the side. You can take a cactus arm position if you want to keep a shoulder opener. You can start by a regular Viparita Karani, legs up the wall. That might feel nice. You might want to take a wide-legged position when you're there. You might want to even take a butterfly with the knees bent, soles of the feet together. Your choice. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes. So let the pelvis get heavy. Let the femurs, those upper leg bones, sink down into the pelvic, the hip region, right there into the hip sockets. Allow the back of the shoulder blades to rest heavy on the floor. And notice your arms resting heavily on the ground as well, so that the palms turn up, collarbones still remain broad. There's that openness from the base of the sacrum where we started all the way up through the heart, into the throat. Now turning your attention to your third eye, that space at the center of your forehead. A place of intuition where you become aware of the information that you're sorting through on a daily basis, where you have the clarity to choose what's going to be in your best and highest good, to make decisions that are going to align with your goals, and to be in tune with the next steps that are going to maximize your potential and align with your desires. That sense of intuition that allows us to connect with the power that is greater than ourselves. You can stay there, focusing on the third eye with a dark indigo color, a nice blue purple, for a few rounds of breath. You might choose to shift your attention to the very crown of your head with a nice royal purple. That sense of connection, the constant connection with the source that is far greater than us, the more powerful than us. But it's understanding that that connection exists always because it is from that energy that we came. And that energy to create worlds resides within us in every moment. So let go of your breath here. Let the body do what it does best. Helps you find a homeostasis, an internal sense of balance without you getting involved. So that you can focus here at your point of intuition, softening the skin on the forehead. Be reminded of your connection with all that is through the crown of your head. Allowing purple or indigo or both to fluctuate as colors at the forefront of your mind's eye. You have the option to stay here for the next few minutes as your Shavasana. You might bend the knees, roll over to one side, and just slowly scoot your way off of your props to lie on your back for Shavasana. Or you might choose to come to a seat. A place to allow all of those energy centers to integrate so they can work more effectively in harmony to maintain your internal sense of balance. And notice if you can refrain from fidgeting for the next few minutes. Without moving a muscle, begin to simply deepen your breath again. Notice the breath move all the way down from the base of your sacrum, where you are grounded and connected, up to just below the belly button, where you are creative and expansive. Up to the navel, where you are a sense. Up to the navel, where you are one with a positive outflow of energy in your life. To the heart, seat of love and appreciation for yourself and others. The throat, where you speak truthfully, openly, and courageously. To the third eye, where you are intuitive. And to the crown, where you are connected to all that is. Take a deep breath in and fill up. Pause at the top and feel the breath bubble beneath your skin. Exhale it all back out, sending that breath down to gentle movements of your fingers and your toes. Carefully roll off of your bolster. Hug your knees into your chest and roll onto one side, making your way up to a seat. You can bring the hands to the heart center and lightly bow your gaze. Appreciating the sense of balance you feel in this moment, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And aware of how you can take this sense of balance with you into your very next interaction. Thanks for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.